Good morning. Happy Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. It is the Big Joe and Laura show. Laura on maternity leave and Wendy hanging out. How are you, Wendy?
I am good. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. I got a lot of sleep yesterday. It's one of those days where I went really hard the day before trying to get like yard work done, all the stuff, and I was just pooped. So yesterday I kind of wasted the day, but hey, here we are. I'm actually kind of feeling rested, which is scary. I'm waiting for the crash.
Yeah, right? You're like, I got too much sleep. I
no.
shouldn't be this awake this
never-
early in the morning.
Never happens. What about you?
I accidentally made myself cry on purpose, if that makes sense, after I got home yesterday.
I mean, I understand accidentally crying, but
So
you accidentally cried on purpose.
I don't know if anybody else does this, but there are times where you just need to cry, right?
Oh, for sure.
And so I have a specific playlist on my phone.
What?
Yes, specific playlist that's like, oh, you want to cry? Listen to this because it's going to make you. And it's like songs that I associate with like my grandpa and like my friend Luke that passed away. And they're all super sad. And so I play that for myself when I'm like, I just
You know you got to let it out.
I gotta let it out. I didn't need that yesterday, but I wasn't paying attention. And when I got home, I just turned my iTunes on or whatever, started doing dishes and stuff. And all of a sudden I went, oh no, like that was the playlist that was playing. My hands were covered in like soap, so I couldn't turn it off. I was like, and the next thing I know, like Hank Williams is playing and I'm sobbing and I'm like washing dishes.
You should have just, what was it on your phone?
On my phone.
You should have picked your phone up, just threw it inside the tub of water.
In hindsight, I should have yelled at Siri, but I didn't think about it at the time. I was panicked and crying.
So take me, like, how far were you into doing the dishes when this started crying? Happening?
Not far.
So did you I picture you over the sink just continuing to wash your dishes and dry them or put them in the dishwasher and you're just crying the whole time? Like, you didn't stop?
No.
Like, well, we started this. We gotta keep it going.
I guess. And honestly, I feel like that led to me sleeping really well last night. So I think we all win.
I think that, we did. We did. And it's just, I feel awkward and I wasn't even there. But I'm kind of wondering now if there's something to this. I want to talk about this more. Does anybody else have a playlist they make just to cry? Because crying sounds bad, but I'll tell you right now, like when I cry sometimes in therapy, it's the best release you could have.
Yeah, you don't realize that you need that, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just, that's all I needed. I feel better.
I mean, if you just want to call us 616-600-0957 and cry.
That's fine.
Yeah,
we're here for you.
Cry. Maybe you could add to Wendy's playlist. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
It's time for Big Joe and Laura's Need to Know News on Mix 95.7.
In the spring of 2022, Gary the Turkey was running wild in Kentwood near 52nd Street and Kalamazoo Avenue. You had the Kia Boys to worry about, then you had Gary causing havoc, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Now, people fell in love with him. He was chasing cars and people. I love Turkey, but I wouldn't like that. They eventually even made a Facebook page for him. Unfortunately, Gary the Turkey passed away, but it looks like a new turkey's in town, and his name, Gary Jr.
Turkeys roost in their trees at night, but once it's daylight, Gary can be anywhere.
That woman you just heard right there, her name's Kathy, and she hasn't met Gary Jr. yet, but she says she knows what she'll do when she sees him. I'm glad that brings them joy. I wouldn't want a turkey blocking my traffic, but hey.
I mean, if that's what brings you joy, that's what brings you joy. Electric Forest Festival returns to Rothbury this summer, and we now know at least part of the lineup. There's going to be 70 different artists performing at the 12th annual festival, and it'll take place from June 20th to 23rd. That's actually a week earlier than normal.
Okay.
Because the city of Rothbury actually voted to move it back a week.
Okay.
Headliners of this year's festival include Ludacris.
Luda!
And Nelly Furtado.
Oh, that actually is kind of cool.
Isn't it? Tickets go on sale this Friday at noon.
We're not a sports show, but we usually talk about the Wolverines or maybe the Lions doing well. But let's talk about a team in Florida in hockey and what happened in a post-game interview.
Okay.
The Tampa Bay Lightning's goalie had his 33rd career shutout where he didn't let a goal in. After the game, reporters were asking questions, and then this happened, which totally ruined everything.
Obviously, it wasn't great feeling the last game, but what was the question?
Do you just walk away from there, like the group of people, or do you pretend it wasn't you, like you look like, oh, that was Wendy?
I feel like you do that, but also, like, you can't recover from that. That whole interview is over. No one else can ask any more questions. Everyone just leave the room.
That's your Need to Know News on Mix 95.7. Mix 95.7, Grand Rapids Best Mix. It's the Big Joe and Laura show. Wendy hanging out with Laura's on maternity leave. And how do you feel, Wendy, about self-checkouts at the store?
I have mixed feelings.
Okay, well, I think a lot of people originally liked them when they came onto the scene, you know, but a lot of stores, like the big box ones, are starting to remove self-checkout machines. And the reason why they say is it's just not the right fit for their staff or customers. But really, there's been such an uptick in theft.
Yeah.
You know, so they're like, okay, we're going to quit doing that.
Yeah. Well, I recently went to, actually, it was just over the weekend, went grocery shopping at Aldi.
Yeah.
And the one that I go to, the one at Knapp's Corner, all of a sudden they have like a ton of self-checkouts when they used to not have any. And
you get to sit in your own chair and check yourself out? That'd be fun.
But they only had one lane open with a cashier. Everything else you had to do self-checkout. And it was fine because we really didn't have that big of an order. But so I panic at Aldi, even in normal cases, because I feel like I have to unload my cart really, really quickly.
Oh, yeah, because they're right behind
Yeah.
you. It's like you fall, you're run over.
But when you're doing the self-checkout, I was like, okay, but what if I have more stuff than fits on this little platform? Like, is it going to yell at me like the ones at Meijer do because all my stuff isn't on the thing?
Please put it on the area.
But how do you feel about self-checkout? Like,
At first I'll admit, I love the idea. And I think if you're like a high schooler in school going to buy something for a special night with somebody and you don't, feel embarrassed buying it, it's great. Or like, if my wife asked me to go in there and buy some feminine products.
Yes.
Nowadays, as an adult, I have no problem. But when I was younger and dumber, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to take this 20 bags of chips. So I like that part of it. But now as an adult, in air quotes, I feel like it's frustrating. I feel bad for the one employee that has to cover the entire area. Usually there's something that's not working. The big thing, if you purchase alcohol, you got to come verify and punch it all in. I know they still have to do that when they're in line, but they're in one set spot. They're not have to running here, there. Mm-hmm. So I would say, to me, I'm old school. I'm all about embracing technology, but I like it old school. Let's strike up a conversation while we're checking out here.
Yeah, I do like that too. And the self-checkouts are convenient if you're only getting a couple of things. But if you have a whole 2 weeks worth of groceries or whatever, I'm not doing that at self-checkout.
You better not do that at self-checkout. We're going to have a problem right there if you start doing that. What do you think about this? Would you want these stores to continue to start maybe ditching self-checkout, or is it something you're like, no, this is actually a good thing we should keep around? Send us a DM anytime in that Mix 95.7 app.
It's time for Big Joe and Laura's Need to Know News on Mix 95.7.
Wendy, I don't think you can eat this, but I do love me some wasabi. Can you have some?
I cannot.
Oh, man. It goes perfect with sushi, and a new study says it can actually have some brain benefits.
Ooh.
Researchers in Japan found that wasabi contains a beneficial compound that I cannot pronounce that improves short-term and long-term memory.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if it's just that I'm getting older or that we're always doing something. I feel like my brain is a computer that runs slow with all the open tabs. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to try this.
I think you should. Just eat a whole big bowl of wasabi. A warning for Michigan families, be careful if you want to do Grinch-themed family photos this holiday season. A viral post on social media warns photographers specifically that if they take Grinch or Seuss-themed photos for profit, the Seuss folks will send you a cease and desist letter, and in some cases, they could sue you.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that makes sense, but honestly, it seems pretty Grinch-tastic to me.
Definitely. And your final Need to Know news story, going to Ohio, where a woman got arrested for throwing her Chipotle order at an employee while she was was given the chance to work off part of that sentence by, well, working as a fast food worker herself.
Do you want to walk in her shoes for 2 months and learn how people should treat people, or do you want to do your jail time?
I'd like to walk in her shoes.
She didn't get a slap on her wrist. She's going to learn how to work in fast food, and hopefully it'll be good.
And no one deserves that. So I thought, why should the city taxpayers pay for her and feed her for 90 days in jail if I can teach her a sense of empathy?
That's interesting. I think the judge had a good idea there.
I think so too, because a lot of people are terrible to people who work in customer service. And if they just had to spend a little bit of time in their shoes, they'd change their tune.
I'd get fired. If I worked at Chipotle, you throw something at me, I'm making like a giant burrito bowl and you're getting knocked out. That's your Need to Know News on Mix 95.7. Mix 95.7, Grand Rapids Best Mix. It's the Big Joe and Laura show. Wendy is filling in while Laura's on maternity leave, and we had a discussion yesterday. I believe it all started with just the fact of like, hey, I think me and Lindsay are going to try to get our Christmas tree up like by Tuesday or Wednesday night to sometime before Christmas gets here.
Yeah.
And I was talking, we had an artificial tree, so when you're trying to get it ready, you got to kind of fluff the tree. You got to make the branches look good all around it, and you looked at me, you're like, fluffing? What? You started laughing.
Yeah, I was like, no, it's not fluffing. It's not fluffing. It's flocking, which you had never heard of.
I've heard of like a flock of seagulls.
Yeah.
But I've never
You've
heard
never
like,
heard somebody talk about flocking a tree?
Yeah, I never heard that one song, Flocking Around the Christmas Tree. So, is that a UP thing where you flock the tree?
It is not. It is a universal thing, flocking the Christmas tree. It is real.
I have never in my life, and I'm not saying I know everything because I certainly don't, I've never heard of flocking. You've never heard of somebody say, like, oh, we got to fluff the tree up?
I have heard that, but I thought that flocking was the technical term, and this will come as a surprise to you, Joe. I was wrong.
Were you?
I was. So this morning, I looked it up. Flocking is not when you fluff the tree.
What is flocking?
So you know those trees that you see that look like they have snow on them, but it's just like, it's like that crumbly synthetic whatever. When you do that to a tree, you put like synthetic dust or powder on it or whatever, that is flocking.
Okay. See, to me, I would just call that antiquing. Like where you throw something on there and it's like you're antiquing something like it's old.
You're antiquing the tree. So yes, I was wrong. It is fluffing. You do need to fluff your tree. I don't have a Christmas tree, so that's why.
I got to tell you, like, inside our house, I guess I don't do a good job. Like, Lindsay's the much better fluffer than I am. Because,
okay.
Like, when we try to put the tree together and stuff, it just, it never seems to work out.
No,
like, she's like, you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. I'm like, okay, fine. You do it, Miss Fluffer.
It. How fluffy does it need to be?
I need more fluffy. Mix 95.7, it's the Big Joe and Laura show. Wendy has been filling in while Laura's on maternity leave and still remains undefeated, but you ran up against a tough person, Brianna in Grand Rapids. You tied her yesterday 5-5.
She was quick and she tied. I think that she might be the one to finally beat me.
How you feeling, Brianna?
I'm feeling good. Fingers crossed.
Okay, cool. Well, it sounds like you get along with Wendy, but I need you to tell her to get out of here so we can play, okay?
Okay, head on out, Wendy.
All right. She's so much nicer about it than you.
Yeah, we'll see how it is if you beat her. All right, here's the deal. You're going to get 1 minute to answer 5 questions. You can pass if you don't know the answer. We'll come back if time allows. Tie goes to Wendy because Wendy can't lose, but you can take her on again the next day. Question number 1. In the song 12 Days of Christmas, on what day do you get the golden rings?
5.
Question number 2. What color is Winnie the Pooh's shirt?
Red.
Question 3. On what TV show did Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani meet?
The Voice.
Question 4. Which Colorado mountain range contains the Continental Divide?
I want to say the Rocky Mountains.
Question number 5. What Sesame Street star laughs when you tickle him?
Elmo.
Gonna bring Wendy back in. Don't say anything. Wendy! Wendy!
Man.
It's all right. Hey, some people go fast, some go slow. It's all about who gets them right or wrong.
Right?
All right, Wendy, no pressure here, but you got to get all 5 right to tie again.
Again, Brianna.
Yep. All right, question number 1. In the song 12 Days of Christmas, on what day did you get the golden rings?
5th.
Took you a while. Were you singing that in
I
your
was
head?
saying it in my head.
Correct. 1-1. Question 2. What color is Winnie the Pooh's shirt?
Red.
That is correct. 2-2. Question number 3. On what TV show did Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani meet?
The Voice.
That is correct. 3-3.
Oh, boy.
Question number 4. Which Colorado mountain range contains the Continental Divide?
The Rockies.
That is also correct. 4-4.
Oh, boy.
And going into our 5th question here, what's going to happen? Got to get it right to tie. What Sesame Street star laughs when you tickle him?
Elmo.
Okay, or Wendy, it sounds like in this case. Wow, an impressive tie once again, 5-5. I assume you do, but Brianna, can you come back again tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Mix 95.7 Grand Rapids Best Mix. Thanks for hanging out with us, the Big Joe and Laura Show. We got Wendy filling in while Laura's on maternity leave, and I'm wondering if you could answer this little question. We also have it on our Mix 95.7 GR Facebook page. How much should you spend on your kids for Christmas? I'm not talking about what Santa's getting them. I'm talking about, like, you parents. How much should you spend? Do you have a limit? A couple I know, some good friends of mine, they disagree on how much they want to spend. The mom, she says there's no limit. There should not be, at least, on how much you should spend on your kids to make them happy. And now the dad, kind of getting lumped in as, I guess, the Grinch. He's saying, you know what, $100 per kid. Otherwise, it's going to get out of control and you're going to go into debt. And then January is going to roll around and you're going to be like, what did we do?
Yeah. You don't want to go into debt getting Christmas gifts for your kids. And depending on age, I think $100 is okay. Like, if they're smaller, they're not wanting the bigger, more expensive types of gifts.
Okay.
But I think as they get a little bit older, it's hard to stick to $100. You can spend $100 in like 2 things.
Well, that's what I think of. I go back to one big thing I wanted as a kid was a Sega Genesis gaming system, like starting out, and then all the other games going forward.
Yep.
And I can't think of a single video game system, not even, well, maybe I could Google how much a Game Boy was, but I feel like everything is at least $100, if not more.
It has to be. I mean, I don't have kids, so I don't have to worry about this. I kind of screwed myself over, though, when it came to spending on my nieces and nephews.
How?
Well, I have a big age gap in the nieces and nephews. So even just the ones that are my siblings' kids, the oldest are 19, and we have one that's about to be born.
Oh, that is a huge gap.
Yeah. And so there's the 19-year-olds, and then there's 2 8-year-olds. Like, that's
who are you spending more money on?
Well, so the 19-year-olds, because they were the only 2 starting out, I was like, oh, yeah, like X amount of dollars per kid. Well, then I felt like I had to then continue that with the additional kids. And so now there's how many nieces and nephews do I have at this point? 5, 7? Soon to be 8 or 8, soon to be 9, whatever it is. It's a lot.
It's too much. I will not financially recover from that if that was to be the case.
No.
What about you? What is the thought you have? Maybe it's something your parents did or what you practice in your household. Is it really, a thing that you just got to make your kids happy? It's such a special moment and a part of their lives. It's not going to be forever. Or you're like, you know what? Hey, we got to be realistic here. We can't break the bank.
And I think that there's ways to budget where you can get them a decent amount of stuff they want and stuff they need, and still not break the bank.
616-600-957. Mix 95.7 Grand Rapids Best Mix. Thanks for hanging out with us, the Big Joe and Laura Show. Wendy is filling in while Laura's on maternity leave, and we're talking about a couple of my friends, won't say who, but they've got kiddos, and the mom, she wants to just get the kids whatever they want. Make them happy, make memories. The dad wants the kids to be happy, but he's like, yeah, we could go broke doing that. Let's just say $100 and call it a day.
Yep. And I guess that also depends on how many kids you have.
Yeah. Well, they have 2, so okay. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. But I feel like you got to set some kind of limit, right? But we're wondering what you think. 616-600-957. Taylor and Eagle, what do you think about this? Are you on the mom's side saying there should really be no limit, or the dad's like, all right, $100, that's it?
I definitely think that there should be a budget. I think 100 might be difficult in some circumstances. I know for us, 100 is really easy to reach. I really like using the rule, something they want, something they need, something to wear, and something to read. So while they're shopping, they could go into it thinking about those 4 things, and then hopefully they can agree on a budget, but I definitely think there should be some sort of limit. Whether that's 100 or more, that's kind of up to everybody's financial situation.
I kind of like that idea. Did you come up with that, or did somebody else do that? You're like, we should try it?
Oh, I saw it online a long time ago, and I started doing it with my nephew, and now we have a little that we do like to do that with, and we'll do that with any other future kids.
That's awesome.
Hey, Taylor, thank you.
Sure thing.